And that's what
Alrighty.
happens when you cook a little late.
And we're running a little late, a couple of last minute tech things, but
It's all
like I
good.
said, we're going to try and recoup on this and kind of move this forward. Uh, real quick, prelim comment for a new TV show, which we can catch on the back end. But let's get this going because got things to do and people to talk to, and I don't want to be a bad host, you know.
You're the greatest.
All right.
Fill my heart with joy.
All right, so real quick, some announcements to get out of the way first. Number one is a thank you to Syrinscape for the
Thank you.
background music and soundboard that you're hearing in the background. Hopefully, it's not too loud. I am getting better about trying to keep that ambiance to a certain level. That being said, also want to give a shout out and a thank you to the community, those who followed, those who subscribed. It's that kind of support that continues to let us grow. So thank you. Much love to you guys.
Thank you. Help
Um,
us.
and I want to do a quick call out. If you are enjoying the show, whether you're here hanging out with us on Twitch on Tuesdays when we do it live, if you're catching the video replay on YouTube when I get it up on YouTube, or if you're catching the audio version and wherever audio podcasts are available, be sure to like it, give us a good rating, share it with your friends to get them to check it out. That kind of growth is going to be useful for us to continue to grow and evolve. And that's pretty much all my announcements. So it's a lot of thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very humbled and appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Alrighty, so real quick, now we'll go roll into our what's up, what we've been up to. I got a couple of great surprises for you guys tonight, some new things we're trying out. But at first, we got to do our what's up, what we've been up to.
What have we been up to?
So, Ryle, as usual, tell us what you've been doing in your wanderings and travelings. Any wineries or, braving the wastelands of Days Gone? What you been up to?
Well, other than braving the land of days gone, that'll be spoken about quickly later. It is the 4th of July weekend, so got an extra day for the weekend, so it's 3-day weekend. Friday went out to First Landing with a co-worker. We did 11 miles through there, and it was a power trip, but good walk through there, good escape. And other than that, just been reading and writing. I started reading the Elton John biopic book called Me, and then I actually finished up my romance story. So now I have a friend editing it, and once that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to publish it later on. So that's about it. Those are the quick hits.
That'll be good to know. That'll be good to check out.
And
show some support.
Pork loin ribs, specially seasoned by me. Good sweet and sour chipotle rub.
Nice.
It was good, tasty.
That's an interesting combination of sweet and sour and chipotle. I mean, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it was great. Made some tacos today out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always good. For me, it's as you can tell from the background, it shifted again. I had the opportunity this weekend because it was the 4th of July weekend, and I took some time and had some free time, as rare as that is, and decided to rearrange the layout of my desk and the studio so that I could have a better view of my monitors. The way I had it before is like I would be looking at my monitor on my desk, but the head would be turned to look track what's going on. Now I just have up. Right, so now it's editing. There was a video project I had on the books, tabletop crafting build I'd done a while back for some keel boats. I showed them up here, but all the video I was kind of intimidated to edit. Well, I finally sat down, I edited it, and it's up, going to come out on YouTube here probably another week or so. Also, some other project vids. Decided to do something simple and do a Lego set, just kind of to test out. And those will be coming out this week. It's a 3-part series for building a singular set. So it's kind of nice to kind of get into the YouTube thing and get YouTube videos out. But that's pretty much what I've been up to. Today I went out to dinner with a friend because, hey, it's Professor Penumbra's birthday. We remember him. He's the guy who did comic books with us early in the show.
Yep.
and it was his birthday, and he's had a lot going on, so went out and had some wings. It's good times.
Nothing wrong with the wings, and especially where you went. They have good wings.
Oh yes, they do. They have great wings. I think I got a sauce that was like a hot and blue. It's like a blue cheese baked into the wings. And I think I know where the echo is. The echo is coming from your mic when you still have it on when I start before it catches up. But I continue to work on that. Uh, so that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our review. And then after just a quick roadmap for tonight, we have our review, and then after our review, we have a guest. We're going to be hanging out with a member of the studio community Discord, as well as the Realmsmith Discord community. Kind of a new friend and a player on Challenge Accepted. One of our new, but he has some interesting things that are going on in his world that I felt was pretty good to share, considering stuff we talk about when it comes to gaming. So stay tuned for that. But first, we're going to do our reviews. And this week on our reviews, we have one film to review. And of course, it's the film that just hit Disney Plus for Independence Day weekend, and that is Hamilton. We all have heard about this play, and this is one of those film adaptations. I must say, out of several film adaptations of an actual stage recording, this is probably one of the better ones I've seen, and I hate to say that's probably because of the technology used, as opposed to some of the older editions of that. But, as usual, I will turn it over to Rye to give us his take on the film, and then I will comment accordingly. So, Rye?
So,
Man.
no problem. Like Scuba said, this is a film adaptation of the same name, musical. And one of the unique things they did, instead of, like typical musical adaptations where they use big sound, big stages or sound designs and a lot of like Hollywood glitz and glamour, they literally just adapted the play from the stage to the big small screen. As Scuba alluded, it is available on Disney Plus, so if you have a subscription, you can check it out. Overall, I can simply sum it up in 3 words. Watching this theatrical adaptation for Disney Plus is it's a work of art. There are times when you watch films and you watch theater and you watch a lot of different things. It's like, okay, this is good and great. The work and the design and the music and the storytelling done through this theatrical play is just simply just a work of creative genius. The play is written by Manuel Miranda. Excuse me if I butchered the name. And basically this encompasses like a typical biopic, but focuses on Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers of America. And the great thing about what I found in this play is that it does a good fusion between history, theatrical display, and storytelling all in a triangular effect. It gives you insight through the eyes of Alexander Hamilton and watching, his rise through the American Revolution, through the initial inception of America, and just showing all the just typical wranglings that happen in the political system, even in history, how it reflects in today. And that connection that it reflects in today is actually done through the music and how they adapted a unique blend of hip hop, rap, and R&B and pop that is very familiar to people of 80s, 90s music, and just kind of made it relatable on a current modern societal. And just from the get go, I was just completely raptured into this play. I was completely bored by how great the ensemble cast was. Every character had depth, had flaws, had strong human conviction, and everything had a point to the songs. So from beginning to end, it was just a complete experience. Take it away, Scuba.
Yeah, I checked this out this morning because it's the first time I had time to really check it out,
Yeah.
and I found it was a enjoyment to watch. It's probably not the best musical I've heard, and I may be biased on some of my opinions, but needless to say, the overall story wasn't too bad. Like I said, some of the music is definitely, it takes, if you're a fan of, if you're a fan of jazz and a little bit of hip hop and whatnot, then this is great. I mean, this is definitely a modern thing, and the last more modern musical that I listened to would be Rent, which came out in the 90s. And that was one that really stuck out for the fact that its music was a little bit different than the previous iterations. Even though it came out at roughly the same time, we saw like the Lion King Broadway production, and before that, some of us who are fans of Les Mis, Phantom of the Opera, um, Sweeney Todd happens to be another good one that I'm a big fan of.
I'll back you up on that one too.
Yeah, but as far as then the film adaptation of a stage performance, I mean, this one's pretty good too, and I like the story. I like how it was back and forth. I felt there were some moments I was just dying laughing because here it is we're depicting the birth of our nation, and we're using modern terms for certain dialogue bits, and it's a riot.
Yeah, it's that creativeness that gravitates to a writer like me. How you can add double meaning to things that even modernize, it's still relatable to what was then. So, um, from what I read and heard, he took 7 years to write this play, and you can tell that this was definitely worked on. Tell that he really worked, put his heart and soul into this.
I just noticed there was something on the back end that I'm gonna have to address in just a second. But um it's pretty good. I mean, we can't really say much more. If you have access to Disney Plus, go check this out. If you've already seen it because it's been out for a few years and there's been some buzz, positive and negative, regardless, you should definitely go check it out. It's on Disney Plus, so we'll do that. Rye, what did you call this one? I mean, I
Uh,
think this is probably our highest one I've seen this year.
Oh yeah, especially well for this year, and it got the rare score. I don't throw a perfect score out there very often, so I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think it's a just legendary, just the experience when you can grab me from the first scene, then to carry me all the way to the end, then you win my heart. So it's a 5 out of 5 in my book. Probably it's going to stick there depending on how the movie season happens the rest of the year. So.
So with that, let's transition over to State of Game. Um, all right. So I'm gonna take a moment to fix something on the back end before we get it too much further, but I will let this opportunity be allow for Rye to sit there and tell us about his current ventures into the wonderful world of Days Gone, which I have been harassing him about playing for, was it 4 months now?
It was a few months,
It was
yes,
a few
because I
months.
had it. I bought it, and then it was sitting there, and then I stared at it, and then and then got Final Fantasy, so it got in the drawer, and then I eventually started playing it, and I went and played a little bit more, played a few more hours, more like played till like morning, but um, just the exploration of the game has captured me pretty intensely. I like venturing out. I like the randomness that occurrences happen in the game. Um, and the thing I like about it is that it has a true intent of survival. Like you'll be riding your motorcycle and you better find some gas because if you don't, you're gonna run out of gas and stuck running away from monsters and also humans. And I had an interesting thing that happened to me on the second playthrough is I was riding my motorcycle, I was coming around the turn, and all of a sudden this laser sight aiming at me. So there was a sniper in a tree who sniped my motorcycle, blew the engine. I fell off, and then a gang of 4 guys came running around the big boulder, trying to attack me. But because I had a very epic axe, I took him out, and I had to sneak around and snipe the guy out of the tree. So then I went back to my motorcycle and I saw somebody trying to steal it. So I went and do what I do best, just murder him, and took my bike back. So that was a very interesting experience. And that's the kind of experiences I like in games where it's just you don't expect. You don't expect it's a true vivid open world, and story um is definitely gripping me because you definitely have to work with camps and you don't really know what else is out there. It's kind of scary at the same time because you keep hearing about traveling north, but then you come to find that there's more badness around and you don't really know what. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens next.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing your next update. But
And
oh, go ahead.
Ghost of Tsushima comes out soon, so
Oh,
that'll be in the mix soon. And maybe we can do a playthrough. Scuba, bring the PS4 over.
I'll think about that.
Thoughts? Think about it.
I'll think about that. All right. So with that, I fixed on the back end. So we're gonna go ahead and roll over and bring in our guest. Uh, there we go. All right. So we have our guest. This is Glenn, or better known as Glock, or as I've come to know him, Will Greenblade, over on the Manticore on the Realmsmith Discord server. Glenn, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing great. I'm a man of many names, apparently. So
Many names is a good thing. Oh yeah, and on Challenge Accepted, it's
Carol Lee.
Carol Lee. That's right.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to see you recently joined the Scuba Studio Discord, which I greatly appreciate, and joined the Challenge Accepted stream on Saturdays. But we talked a little bit over on the Realmsmith where we first kind of met, and there was some things you're doing as in your, because you're a teacher, and was like to kind of get into a little bit of that conversation. But why don't you tell us who you are, what you kind of up to, and your experiences with all of this D&D stuff that we've come to know each other through.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I'm, Glenn, and I've been playing D&D since I was 8, back in 1980. So I've been playing for a long time, and I just loved it. And when I was introduced to it because in a school, actually, I wasn't doing very well, and there was this gifted and talented program, and they were playing this game called Dungeons and Dragons, and I saw some kids doing it that were older, and I thought, hey, I can do that. And so started reading books and playing D&D, and I've been playing ever since. And so when I started teaching about 23 years ago or so, I kind of thought I would do the same thing, something similar. So I've been doing it on and off for forever. I'm 49 now, so for 41 years I've been playing it for a long time. And so when this whole COVID thing hit, it put just a damper in my obviously playing, in which everybody else did too. And so my live game I've been playing every other week just kind of fell away because we couldn't do it. Tried to do over the Zoom thing and tried to do Roll20, and we just, we had some technical difficulties. We'd never done it before. So we tried, but it was kind of killing me. And then we'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but my role-playing club that I run at school for my kids, I was doing that every week, and that went away too. So I just found myself in this creative void, if you will. And so I started writing my own adventures and doing my other things. It just wasn't enough. And then I was watching Critical Role, and it stopped broadcasting. And but then I saw Matt Mercer as a guest host on this one stream called Into the Mist. And so I thought, hey, I'll start watching. I watched that, and I was like, oh, these guys put the real table. This is really cool. And so I started watching back stories and started getting into it really. And so I thought, hey, this is great. And so I decided to subscribe to it, and that's how I got on the Realmsmith Discord and into the realm basically, and watched everything. In fact, I finished episode 34 of Order of Dragon's Bane today. So I finally finished all of them, and so the only one I'm not finishing is I'm not doing the Sentinels of the Storm one, because that's the one I play every other week, and we start this whole thing up again. So I can avoid that. So that's kind of how I got involved, and then got into the Revelry and met you and these guys, and just been itching to do some D&D. And so when you had an opening for Challenge Step, I thought, hey, I'm going to jump at that. So I appreciate it. So.
Yeah, that's that D&D club is the one that really gets me, because we see so many articles that talk about how the educational benefits of playing Dungeons and Dragons, and because it's that situational storytelling kind of thing. It's like, here's your choices, how you're going to react. So being able to kind of talk about that's kind of cool, especially as it's like you said, it's like you were doing this and all of a sudden COVID that just jacked everything up. Now we're all kind of sitting here learning how to live digitally, even though we probably have been doing it just probably not this level before. So, but yeah, so let's just kind of lead into that D&D club you've been doing. I mean, how is that organized? I mean, are you like a central dungeon master and then the kids are all coming to play, or is it the kids have different groups and you're just there kind of like as a mentor to kind of help them kind of navigate the rules?
Sure, let me talk about that a little bit. It kind of morphed a little bit over the years. So when I had gone to junior high when I was younger, they had a club at my school, and I thought that was cool. And I met some lifelong friends. We started playing D&D, and they're still some of my friends I keep in touch with today. And so I thought that was really a cool aspect of it. And so when I started teaching at this middle school, it's a lower income area. And my school, it's Dixon Middle School in Provo, Utah. I double checked with my PR guy. I'm allowed to say that. So I talked with it. But so it's in Provo, Utah, Dixon Middle School, and it's in a lower income area. And I thought, and I had a kid approach me, saw some of my stuff in my office, and he, said, "Do you play D&D?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And so I said, "Well, I want to kind of start playing with my friends." So this is 22 years ago now. And so I said, "Well, let me see if I can get this going here." And you remember the whole satanic panic of the late 80s and early 90s. I had actually, in fact, written a paper in college about it was a satirical essay about role-playing games based on Jonathan Swift's modest proposal paper. Anyway, so I'd written this paper about this stuff, and so I was kind of pretty well versed in it. And so when I started doing it here, there was a lot of pushback from my administration and from other people. And so I just said, hey, look, this is so good for, I just laid out all these things it does, reading and mathematics and group dynamics and being a leader, being a follower, social anxiety, and just laid all those things. And so they said, all right, let's give it a shot. So I had one group and I ran the games for them. And then it went so well that we started getting more and more people. And I started having about 10 or 15 people that couldn't do it. And a friend of mine said, hey, I'm free on Fridays. So he came after school on Friday, and so he started running a group, and I ran a group. And then over the next few years, it started getting so big, and it became the most popular club at my school. And we got a grant program that was based on after school things, and so my numbers were huge. I was getting 30 something kids out there, even more than that. And so I was in the cafeteria, and we had tables all over, and kids that had been in that original group came back. They were in high school. So they started running the games for the other kids. And that's kind of the model I've been using is kids that were former members then come back when they're in high school and they run games for the younger kids. And so they'll run a game. And so I usually have almost every year, it's dipped, when computer games got really good to the point where, when Minecraft got huge and other things like that, people stopped reading. And so I didn't have as many people to run games. But I even let me do it for a summer school one time. It was so popular, so big, that I actually ran a club where I actually basically ran a game for summer school. And then I ran another class on teaching people how to be dungeon masters. And I had 16 kids. I had 16 kids in my class on how to be a dungeon master. It was crazy. And so I ran this whole 1-on-16 big game for everybody where I talked about why I made the decisions I made. I was on the whiteboard. It was pretty funny. And then I had them split into groups of 4, create their own games, play them. And then I had the one person stay, they rotate. It was really just awesome. And those guys were my DMs for the next 6-7 years, easily. In fact, one of those kids has gone on, joined the military. He's come back now. He's, and he's actually still comes back and runs a game. And this is probably 18 years later, something like that. I mean, it's crazy, right? So anyway, so that's the model. I basically have kids that are in high school come back and run games for the 7th and 8th graders. Every once in a while, an 8th grader will step up, or even a 7th grader to run a game. And so I just kind of sit there and back, and I rotate through the game. Sometimes I have a character in each game, and I jump in for a little bit, and I just get asked questions. But it's usually 5 or 6 games, so I can't stay with one game too long. I have to kind of rotate around, and I have my room, and in the room across the hall, we split up enough to have like offices so that we can create space, and it's a lot of fun.
Nice. So are they running through like one-shot modules from your back catalog, or is this kind of a homebrew situation? I mean, how are they doing the stories?
Well, that's funny because the first group I ran, years and years ago, they did D&D, and then I ran a Shadowrun game for them, and then we had Legends of the Five Rings, and then we had each edition of D&D since then, and Pathfinder. We just done a bunch of them, and I just have a bunch of I just buy tons of stuff. My wife lets me have a budget, and it's my D&D budget for my club. And I say my wife lets me because, let's be honest, that's what really happens. So, and I just have to set aside, and there's a local game store here that has been awesome. And in fact, one of my old roommates actually started running the store, and then it's gone through a few owners since then. But it's awesome, and so they actually have given me a discount. So I've spent thousands of dollars on old stuff for them, and now the digital age is a little easier for me. So I just kind of usually get them going with a first level module, and then the DM just kind of runs with it. I've had a few campaign settings, and for the most part, nowadays almost everybody just does D&D, and it's all 5th edition. That just happened to be who runs the games, and so it's always hit and miss. I'm always every year wondering who's going to come back, and then 5 or 6 kids show up that want to run the game. I'm like, oh, thank goodness, and so we just kind of go from that, and they just start going, and they do full campaigns that last the whole year. Every once in a while, we'll do some one shots, and at the end of the year, I always do this really big thing where I get all the DMs together, and I run a big kind of one on whatever game for them at the very end, and they fight some big creature, and I buy some like the red dragon or some big huge figure they fight, and it's pretty fun. But
Nice.
they run with it. It's awesome. I have kids. Actually, I should say this. Some kids are really out there and they want to do their own things, and so they'll run like a Pokemon version of D&D, or they're in the Pokemon world, or they're in Legend of Zelda world, and they do their own things, and they have fun, and they find their niche, and there are a few kids that really like that stuff, and they run with it, and I say, hey, go for it, So.
Yeah, that's and then that's one of the nice things about Fifth is it's very utilitarian to utilize in other settings. I think there's a My Little Pony version right now that you can get books for. My daughter is real kind of interested because she's at that cusp where she's ready to start jumping in, and she's starting middle school next year. But I also know that my son's high school has a gaming club, but he's made some comments on, I'm not sure if it's video game or tabletop, but they have a couple of clubs. So, but it's nice to actually it's one thing to read an article in some obscure media location that says this school in this part of the world does this, and it's like, oh, I wonder how that goes, and to have the opportunity to actually talk to somebody who has built this, so to speak, is really cool, and really makes me happy, really makes me excited for some of the stuff these kids come up with. Kids' creativities, when they're given the right outlet, is just mind-boggling.
I have to say that it's been a great blessing in my life to see some of the cool things that come out of it. I master's degree in educational counseling as well, and while I was doing that, I had to run a group, and it's hard as a teacher to take time off. So I was able to do most of my stuff through school, and I got permission to have my group be this a group after one of my groups, and I ran the game for them, and it was a bunch of students that were in kind of they had something that was inhibiting their social ability to interact. It's probably the best way for me to say that without giving
some form of social anxiety. We don't need to go much more than that.
It was a behavior, and there's some behavioral disorders and things like that. And I can't really say too much about it, but anyway, so I was able to run that group, and so I went with them, and to see the change in them from the start of the year to the end of the year was just incredible, because they were able to there were kids that almost were unable to communicate, and they were so into the games. And years later, I've had some of them email me back or talk to me and come back and talk about how much it changed their life. And it wasn't me, because I wasn't doing it, but it was the game, and it was just the outlet of the game. You know, it was just the ability to be able to teach those kind of social skills and have them develop some friends that they stay with for the lifetime. I mean, I have some, there's two people in my own home game from my second year of running this club, that as time went on and they got older and now they're married and they have kids, and they actually are in my own home game. And so, and they're my friends now, which is weird to say. They still have a hard time not calling me Mr. Lockwood, which is kind of funny at the D&D table. But
it's not so bad. I mean, all of us who've transitioned from being transitioned into the adulthood and actually could start have the opportunity to call the adults that we look up to by their first name is definitely intimidating. I kind of went through that when I did Boy Scouts as a younger, and when I was at that point where I transitioned up, where a lot of my friends were still scouts, but because I was 18, I was on the adult side. So it's that back and forth, and these are people I grew up with, and being able to go from saying Mr. Scoutmaster or Mr. So and so to hi Doug, hi Mac, hi Mike. It's like I don't think it'll ever change, but that's really cool that 20 years later these guys are still talking, and I've always said your best friendships if you can make friends at the gaming table, they'll be your best friends for life, because there's so much you share at the gaming table that is arguable to people who share some big life things, because then it's like, it's not so much, oh, remember that one time. It was like, no, remember when we did this or we did that. There's that, because you're so invested in it. It's really kind of positive and powerful, especially long running games.
Yeah, it's been funny because, I mean, I've had kids that, you know, were failing out of school, and I used to have this thing where they had to be passing their classes before they would come to my after school club, and different things that I did at different times, where their parents would come in and say, can you not let them come until they get their grades up? And I'd say, sure, it's up to you, your choice. And it was awesome because they would like work really hard just so they could come to the club. and then there would be sometimes when kids would be, where I'd have parents say, I don't want my child doing this. Again, the satanic panic was very real, still out here. It's a pretty religious community that I'm in. And and I've always said, hey, can you just come out and just watch the club? And then just before you make a judgment call, just watch that happens. And they would watch it, and every single time, I've had numbers of parents come, and administrators, and people come observe me that run the grant programs that I was involved with, and different grants that would come out and do some things and donate certain things. And they would all say the same thing. This is not what I thought. There's really nothing wrong with it. Some of them have said, I'm still not good with my son or daughter coming. And I'd say, awesome. But they would always still say, but it's not what I thought it was. And it's way better. And almost all of them have been sold on it. Those few that still didn't allow their kids to come, that's it. It's been 2 in 20 something years, that I know of, because it's just not what everybody thinks it is, and I don't let the kids play evil characters, and I don't let them run. And that's one of my rules. And like, we are still in a school setting. And if you want to do that on your own, great. It's just not for this setting. And so that helps that situation, And I've had kids, like I said, they make their own games. I have kids that make their own, give me manuals of their games that they come up with and create on their own. And
that's so awesome.
It's just, and it's just so cool. And I've had like the high school now, and over the years, they've just never been able to get it going. But I have schools from all over the place call me and try to get it started and come and observe me. And a couple people have written articles on it and things like that, just done research papers on it. And, and I just have them come. I say, look, I don't care. Yeah, please come. Just stand there and watch it. Everybody who comes and watches it is just in love with it, not because I did anything special, but because the game speaks for itself. These role-playing games are so good for these kids. It's good for everybody, but to be able to work through things and figure things out. And yeah, sometimes I pull kids aside and say, hey, let's talk about how we handle a conversation with somebody you disagree with, and or you know, and these are 13 or 14 year olds, 12 through 14 year olds, I should say. And let's be honest, that age is a lot of energy.
Oh
So
yes,
on a
Yes.
Friday,
yes.
on a Friday after school, it's amped up.
Yeah, I would. I had a group that was pretty regular. You'll see a few of the members in the studio Discord. It's the Teens on Parade group. This is a group of my son's friends who all wanted to play D&D, and I would be like, all right, because of scheduling or whatever, because I was trying to be considerate of their parents. It's like, all right, you guys come over, sleep over for a night, and we'll play D&D. And so it's again, it's a group of that age group sitting around trying to go learn and play Dungeons and Dragons. And some of the stuff they come up with, it's like, I like where you're going. However,
Gotta pull them back in.
Yeah, so many stories, so many stories. Like one of the ones that I just always sticks out to me was we were playing and I was describing this scenario for them, and I said, "You hear this? You hear the sound of running water and it's babbling brook in the distance, and it's quiet and things like that." And one of the kids goes, "I put on my water skin and I run towards the water." And I'm like, "What?" You know, these dumb, because they just don't get it, you know. And but it's so memorable and it's so awesome, and we laugh about that. Years later, they'll come back and see me from high school, and I'll say, "Remember the water skin?" And they're like, and it just starts cracking up. And you know, those are the kind of things that these build memories forever. And like I said, I have kids, honestly, that that's the reason why the local game shop is like really big on trying to sponsor the club, is because they said, "Hey, we want kids to come, you know, for years to come." And I see them all the time. I go down to the shop and I will see these kids that I, you know, taught years and years ago, and it's awesome. And so I actually asked them. The name of the shop is called Dragon's Keep. I called them up and said, "Can I mention the name?" So,
oh,
and
that's awesome.
they said,
Yeah,
so
where's
they're
that
great.
place located? Dragon's Keep.
So yes, Dragon's Keep. It's Provo, Utah,
Okay.
and but they also have a shop in Spanish Fork, Utah, and in Orem and in Lehigh. So they started to expand as well.
Road trip.
But anyway, but they've just been really great, and I've had other, you know, ones that have come and gone, been really helpful. And in fact, Wizards of the Coast Wizards of the Coast sent me a thing this year. They gave me a legendary bundle just to run my club. So
Oh, that's so awesome.
yeah, so I could basically then, and what all I have to do then is I can actually now share out digitally with these kids. They can be on D&D Beyond, and they can actually just, and so they don't have to have the books, because like I said, it's a pretty low income area. So the only books that usually are there are the ones that I've purchased. But now we have a technology initiative. I have some iPads in the classroom or some Chromebooks. They can jump on, do their characters there. I can share content with them and so they can make up their characters. And it's been, so they were really supportive. And so I've had a lot of really, and that was a blessing. It just happened right actually during COVID, because I was trying to run an online version of it through Discord. And I had two groups that really wanted to do it. And they're like, "Well, we don't have access to anything." And so I said, "Hey, you know what?" And so I wrote this letter, and they had a program, and it was awesome. So I've just had so many cool blessings and things that have happened. It's just been really cool.
Yeah,
So
that sounds really cool. I look forward. I'm really hopeful that when we come back into school season, that things can kind of work out and get that club going again.
yeah.
Rye, did you have anything you wanted to chime in on? I know I've been kind of
Um,
monopolizing Glenn with questions and stuff.
no,
I'm
you've.
sorry, I've
You,
been
oh no, I
monopolizing
know.
answers.
I've been just sitting here enjoying the conversations. What I enjoyed is just hearing the community that's being built, and you have given a platform where it showcases how games can bring people together, how they can improve their communications, how they can be creative. You know, with the fifth edition, you can create different worlds, like you mentioned, My Little Pony, and it made me think about when I created that Dragon Ball Z tabletop game that I wish I never lost, but you know, maybe I can start it up again.
Oh
I
yeah,
have
maybe
some
we can
kids
even send it
that would love
over and
that.
have Glenn have his crew play test it and give us some feedback. I mean, I just thinking of
Done
some of
one of
them to
those
write
already
these
too.
things, be able to play test and kind of work through that. How many of them have kind of moved on to, you know, publishing stuff either through the DMs Guild or move on to being game developers
Yeah.
themselves? I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some interesting stories on how some of these kids have kind of taken that opportunity to be creative and design
Yeah.
and just kind of go with it.
Yeah, it builds skills. It showcases that games can build skills, because if you have a inquisitive mind and you build upon and expand upon, it'll help you down the road, not just in the game world, but in the real world.
Yeah.
Communicating in a workspace, or like me, in my case, I'm a trainer. So, playing games produces a creative intent on a lot of stuff I got to develop at work, even though it's health insurance.
So, Glenn, have any of you? How many of your kids have moved on into the gaming community, or do you have any idea?
So into the community itself, I know there's quite a few. In fact, one of my kids last year is one of the lead artists for a Die Hard Dice. I don't know if you know, they make dice sets, things like that. It's a local business here. I know that they've done some stuff on Critical Role as well. But
wow.
and I know she's one of the lead artists for it, and she's done stuff in an art book. And I know some other ones have gone on to do some things. I know at least two of them that are kind of writers. Now they're not nobody that's been really famously published that I know of. But I know there's been some. But the biggest thing is I know for a fact that I have a lot of them that still play D&D. And they still play role-playing games, and they're still involved in. I had so when I had the 20th anniversary a couple years ago, I have like a little Facebook page for some of the old gamers, but of course the new kids aren't on that. So it's just the older ones that are kind of on it. And I wanted to get them to come back and just kind of do a special little fun thing. And it was kind of cool. I had a few of them come back. My original group, there was only 5 of them, and all 5 responded, and all 5 still say they still play.
Nice.
And it was really cool. It was really cool. I've had my second last year, or year before last, I had my first like second generation player, where the dad was there in the club, and then now here's their kid coming back and playing,
Oh, that is so cool.
That was pretty cool. My own son went to school with me this last year, and so he was involved. I'd had a couple of my older girls do it in a summertime scenario. But actually be at my school, he came and was at my school. He's the first one to do it. I kind of felt as a dad, though, none of them really into the game, but except for my youngest daughter, she's super into it. I run stuff for her friends all the time, so she's the only one that's really stuck with it. But it's been kind of fun.
Awesome. Well, I think we're good. We're gonna call it on there, and we're gonna move into our odds and ends. And Glenn, if you're good with it, we'll just have you hang out and give your 2 cents on some of these odds and ends stories.
But yeah,
sure, that'd be great.
Alrighty, so yeah, odds and ends. All right, so odds and ends is where we find some random internet stories and we give our reactions to them. So our first story is it's kind of interesting because it talks about Tesla. As we all know, Tesla is on the map for making the fully electric cars, the nice roadsters, and rumor has it they have a truck on the way that's due to come out soon.
One day.
But a recent article is that Tesla has just been rated as being worth more than Toyota, Disney, and Coca-Cola. So what do you guys think of that?
I think it was bound to happen. Because the future is an expansive place, but just the fact that it surpassed those big 3 just kind of makes you go, and it just shows the investment. The investment takes time, but it'll eventually pay off. Not just in Tesla's case, but just in generalities. If you see something further down the road than what is, then it will pay off, and it has paid off to an extent, because not just the fact of seeing this big number here and seeing it surpass all these big known companies, but just the fact of if you're just driving around this area alone, I've been seeing more and more Teslas out on the road. I don't know, but that I have noticed that, and they just put a Tesla
recharge station,
not recharge station, but a place where you can get it fixed up and stuff out in Virginia.
Ah, a repair.
Yeah, repair shop. There we go. A repair shop in the old Progressive building, the industrial park. So it's just showing you just inching. Renewables is inching closer and closer, and then maybe in our lifetime it might be flipped around.
Glenn, what about you? Have you seen a lot of Teslas out in your neck of the world?
Well, so okay, I have a unique perspective. I teach science, so I teach about climate change. I teach about all renewable energy and stuff. So Elon Musk has been one of my, man crushes for a while. I mean,
I feel
so
the
I mean,
heart. I feel the love.
yeah, I don't want to say that in a weird way, but I mean, from space, I teach astronomy, so from SpaceX to everything else. And I saw someone in chat talk about how ugly the truck is, and my wife thinks so too. But if I wasn't a teacher, I'd buy one just because. But no, it's been we're seeing more and more of it. In fact, more and more of those things coming on out here, and so I think it's growing. I just saw a thing the other day on the internet about how he's surpassed these other companies, and I thought that was crazy. I couldn't believe it. So
Yeah, well, I mean, there's an interesting tidbit with that. I mean, right now shares of Tesla are trading at are worth about $1,000 a share. So when you look at the S&P 500, which is a lot of these big name companies, it's in there. Now, an interesting tidbit is actually Tesla is not on the S&P 500. You got you weren't aware of that. It's because and part of that is because and I've listened to investment advice about Tesla for years, and most of them say it's probably not. It seems overvalued, but reading this article and then reading some of the additional ones, it turns out that Tesla is not on the S&P 500 because it doesn't meet all of their criteria for the S&P 500, because this is one of those indexes that you can buy shares of the S&P 500 as a whole, and you get a residual from every stock that's in there, not just the individual companies. But part of the reason why Tesla hasn't met all those standards is Tesla actually hasn't turned a profit yet. They're starting to. And they released their earnings for last year, and they didn't turn a profit for the first quarter, which is one of those things. So it's like this might be something interesting to watch, and especially if you're into investing and looking at investment opportunity, is watching this for when they do get that last checkbox and get on the S&P 500. I think it'll be very interesting because the overall value of that index is going to jump amazingly.
It's going to raise some numbers and figures, definitely for sure.
Oh yeah.
Credit to CNN Business for the article.
All right. Our next one is this one will probably definitely speak to Rye, and I'm sure it'll speak to you and your students, Glenn. Is we've had with COVID, we've had a lot of concerts getting canceled, right?
Yes, I can attest to that. It hurts my soul.
I know it's hurting your soul, Rye. You can't go watch all of those places at the amphitheater and all these other venues. So it's like it kind of sucks because we want to be socially distant. We don't want to continue this. We want to get this over and done with. But an interesting little thing to check out over in the UK this summer. They're supposedly opening a social distant acceptable outdoor venue for concerts. This is at the Money Unity Arena is going to have little platforms that are about 2 meters apart that for individuals and small groups can stand at, sit at, and occupy so they can watch an outdoor concert. They will have refreshments that are on one-way calls that will be kind of a curbside pickup or brought out to the individual little platforms, and even restroom facilities, which are kind of a one path through kind of deal. So, what do you guys think of this concept?
It's an interesting concept. It actually um, gives a way for the music industry to still flourish and also the fans to still attend. Because a lot of bands out there, touring is their income, is their revenue. So not only from a fan's perspective, not being able to see Luke Bryan, Incubus, the Lumineers, Alanis Morissette live, um, it's also hurting them because that's their revenue, how they build their income. A lot of bands, especially bands I watch at smaller venues like the Norva, like they tour a lot, and yeah, this gives an avenue to where bands can actually go back out on the road and do it safely for both sides. So I think it's an interesting experience. but it's not going to work in every venue. Like just from the display or the design of this venue, you have to be in the blind field. So say like small venues like the Norva or the Jewish Mother or anything that is small, this is not going to work. Even
Well,
the amphitheater, this wouldn't work. But
yeah,
it gives
because
them an
of the ones
idea.
you know
Yeah,
you just named,
yeah,
the amphitheater is the only one that is outdoors. The other two
yeah,
are indoor venues.
yeah. But even the amphitheater, it can't do it, but it actually gives them an idea of what to do if they wanted to open up.
Glenn, what do you think?
Yeah, so being a parent to two teenage daughters, that they were really upset. They had their coin concert canceled and Panic at the Disco. I can't remember the other one that got canceled too, but they were really upset. So they would love it. They'd be cheering, going crazy for this because they like a lot of the indie bands, and so for them to be able to, like Ryan was saying, to be able to make some money, that would be kind of cool. I don't know how popular it's going to be, but I like the idea because I think it's going to be really, I think it might catch on, and at least other places will do something to kind of help these bands
And
come.
it all depends on how each state or country is limiting interaction.
Well, on top of that, this is the new normal.
Yeah,
Let's not mince words about this. 2019 and how we conducted business is not how we're conducting business in 2021. So the fact that we're starting to see some creativity and trying to do these socially distant things and try to bring some sense of normalcy back to our daily lives,
yeah,
as like Glenn said, yeah, I mean, teenagers want to go to concerts. I mean, you're a big foodie and concert person, Rye. So anything to try and get back to these semblances of normal, we're going to want to try and do.
yeah,
And I think this is nice because this is okay, let's get creative on how we can still do this and still have these experiences and try to make it as low impact as possible.
yeah. That's going to be the new normal for a little bit, but eventually they'll come back around because there are
Oh,
there are
always
a lot
does.
of
Always does.
stuff that this would not work. So like bigger festivals this would not work. So, but it's a good idea. It's like I said, it injects creativity. Credit to Consequences Sound.
Speaking of outdoor venues, our next story happens to be a very interesting one too because it is a partnership between Walmart and Tribeca Entertainment or Enterprises. Tribeca Enterprises is a company that kind of got itself together in the post 9/11 world to do drive-in theaters. What this article talks about is how Tribeca and Walmart have partnered to convert the parking lots of 160 Walmarts into drive-in theaters and to show some of the old classics like Jaws on the drive-in theater experience. So, what do you got? What's our opinions on that, Glenn? I'll let you go first.
Oh, that's awesome because my family's always talking about going to a drive-in. There's one that's like 45 minutes away from us, but that's it in the whole state. So yeah, I think it's cool. We were actually talking about that as a family. That would be so cool if somebody came up with the idea of new drive-ins to, who knows how well they'll take on with all the HD streaming stuff. But I like the idea. I think it's fun.
I mean, there's tech out right now to get the big kind of IMAX level screen size in your own home. Granted, they're a couple $1,000s for the equipment, but the tech is there. And so I'm very curious to see how they just upscale that tech on a commercial level for that. But they're supposed to start doing this construction in August, and like I said, it was 160 stores are going to get this, and hopefully, if it catches on, Walmart might have new revenue because now their parking lots doing something other than holding cars in the middle of the day. Rye,
Because they're
what's
hurting
your
for
thoughts
money.
on this?
My thoughts. I guess I have to give credit where credit's due to the Devil Store itself for doing something to help their customers. Actually, so but in all sense, this is another one of those creative ideas to create some place to you can venture out to be safe and actually enjoy a good classical movie. I would give it a thumbs up for. So this is a good idea. I like it. Getting creative within Walmart parking lots.
honestly though, I worry because I worry about the theaters themselves, and with all the new stuff, are
Yeah,
they going to be able to bounce back?
we
I
have been
mean,
talking that for what,
Months.
since March.
Yeah.
yeah,
Even before COVID, we've been having a constant discussion about the theater experience, the expansive of streaming, 4K, eventually 8K TVs, and all this other different stuff. Will it oversee theaters? But I think it's going to be more of an adjustment. Theaters
Well,
are, yeah,
yeah, we've been talking about it, but again, I'm going to reiterate the same thing that we talked on before. Drive-in theaters was supposedly erased by the better quality indoor theaters. Yet drive-ins still exist.
yes,
There's still a niche thing that has not gone away, and I don't think the theater experience will go away. It's just not going to be at the same scale that we've been seeing. But
it's kind of like records. Records are the new thing,
oh yeah,
even though
records
they're
came
old thing.
back. I mean, to think that LPs would come back and be a really cool thing again after all of this advent
yeah.
of the digital age. Let's go back to the old school analog record player. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
and seeing modern uh, albums that within the last 5-10 years that were definitely not out at the time when records were a thing. To all of a sudden see them re-released on a old school record to sit there and play has been
it's
really
pretty
just kind of
cool
wild.
actually. When I see
I can't
like the
remember who
indie
it was.
bands, like
Oh,
What?
sorry, Ryan.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Oh, I
Glenn.
didn't mean to cut Ryan. I'm sorry. I was like, I can't remember who it was. But somebody, Iggy Pop, somebody had in New York, they have a kiosk where you can go and you can record yourself and it will print out an LP for you which is like, it's crazy. I saw it on some show and I was like, I
Really?
teach digital
Let's
versus
do
analog to my
research and find
students,
this.
and I saw that and it was insane. I can't remember who did it. So you have to look it up sometime.
Oh, I will.
Sorry, and I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, no,
Ryan.
you're
No,
good.
no,
You just gave me an
that's
idea.
perfect.
This is my new Kirby. I must find this. But
You better
yeah,
watch it, man. Next thing you know, your room's gonna have Kirby's and cup of noodle model kits and and print your own LPs.
hey, if there's a will, there's a way.
That's
But yeah,
fair.
just to retread back, it is cool seeing like bands that I listen to currently, or bands from my high school be printing on LP. I'd be like walking in, oh, that's a Thrice album that I like. Oh, that's Anne Berlin. There's Jay Z. I'm picking this up. You know.
Yeah. Alrighty, our last story for tonight is a story that is a product that has taken 5 years in the making, and
5 years, people.
seems fitting that it is actually coming out to mark the birthday of a very uh, controversial figure, although probably not by his own intent, and that is the Dalai Lama has recently celebrated his 85th birthday,
Happy
and
birthday.
as part of that celebration, he has released his first album. Yeah,
Yes.
I said it. It's like waiting. I know someone out there is sitting there going, "Wait a minute, the Dalai Lama released an album? What?" Yeah,
On vinyl.
it's literally it. It's called The Inner World. It was first conceived by a New Zealand musician, Julian Ken, Cunin. He approached the Dalai Lama in 2015 to see about doing this. This is music that has been set to some of his some teachings on meditation and whatnot. It's supposed to be very soothing and relaxing, but it's very interesting because for me, I'm thinking of this is how do we get our message out and how do we think outside the box, because that's kind of been the theme with some of these. Tesla thought outside the box by making a pretty much commercially viable all electric car, which that has been attempted to do and hasn't had a lot of success, but now it's out there. And they're moving into the SUVs and then the trucks. And now, and with this outdoor venue in the UK, with Walmart converting parking lots into drive-ins, let's get creative here and get something out for consumers to enjoy. What do you guys think of the Dalai Lama joining the music industry?
I am very excited. It combines two things that I follow, which is I do follow some of the Buddhism teachings and also ambient music. It combines both into one. And it is available on Spotify because I did download it.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but yeah, it is. It I think it's pretty cool because it puts, like you said, it gives another avenue to put out a message um that is very, helps people, guides people, can just help you think and relax. Even if you're not of the Buddhist teaching, it's still a positive. And just a quote from here, the entire purpose of the project is to try to help people. It's not a Buddhist project, it's to help everyday people like myself, even though I'm Buddhist, end quote. So, it's one of those things where even if you're not of the teaching, you can still get something.
Glenn, what's your thought on this?
I'm a big put out positivity into the world is the best thing you could do. So, I mean, it might not be my religious following, but that doesn't matter. Anything that's good is good. So I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, definitely, especially with all the shenanigans we've seen over the last few weeks. Something like this is very, very refreshing to see, and hopefully, I wish all the success. I'll probably try and check it out. It might be on iTunes because I use
It should,
iTunes for my
I
thing. I
would
don't do
guess.
Spotify anymore.
Um, I would guess if it's on Spotify, more than likely it's on Apple Music.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. All right. Well, with that, we will say goodnight to Glenn, and thank you very much
good
for
night.
spending your evening with us, hanging out,
Thank you,
talking
Glenn.
about D&D clubs and all that good vibe in today's world, where it's like we need some positivity like that around the gaming, and the gaming table is a great place to hash out a lot of things. So, thank you very much for spending time with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the chat, and maybe can chat with you again sometime.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate your letting me come on and talk about it. And just great to kind of talk about all the great things that the kids that I have helped out.
Well, as a father and someone who's run teenagers through a game, I'm all for the power of gaming, and more importantly, the power of people who can see D&D for what it is, as the collaborative story experience, as a means uh, to test the waters with some social interaction and situational thinking and critical thinking, and to be able to do that. And it's always amazing to see what people come up with, like somebody casting a grease spell and somebody else using their flint and steel to try and kill a swarm of spiders. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yes,
I might buy this stuff.
fight them monsters, fight them wizards, fight them.
which I will say, if you're curious and have not seen the episode of Challenge Accepted I'm referring to, that will go live on YouTube tomorrow at 2 p.m. I believe, 2 or 4 p.m.
Check it
Challenge
out, people.
Accepted
Check it
episode
out.
7 will be out, so you can hear how this comedy of errors came together.
Oh,
Sorry,
it was
I had
no
to just
error.
throw
It
that
was
out there because I know
on
that's been a running
purpose.
gag.
No, it's great. Again, I appreciate that opportunity. It's just, seeing the great things that D&D can bring, and how this community's kind of grown. It's just been awesome. It's a great experience. And I'm just grateful to have that, kind of like I said, the blessing in my life to see those kids do those things. It's not neat. They sit around a table. There's no gender. There's no race. There's no socioeconomic, distance. They're just telling a collective story. And it's just awesome. I love it. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great. Games bringing people together. I approve.
So, all right, if you want to see more of Glenn's antics as the halfling monk, check us out Saturday at 8 p.m. here on this channel to see the next episode of Challenge Accepted. And with that, we will transition over for Ryan and I to do our closing comments.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
All right. Alrighty, right. So that was a good show today, don't you think?
Yeah, it was a great show. We got to talk about some theatrical plays, me getting shot out in the game, and Dalai Lama and new music. Great
I know.
times.
It's been good. Don't want to spend too much time longer. We're pretty much trying to keep this right on track. I actually have to run and do something really cool in a little bit, and I will tell you guys more about that later. Hopefully. So I'll leave you that as a teaser for something cool to come. And we'll go ahead and run through our contact info. And this is where you can find us. Check us out. Follow us. As I said before, I want to thank you to the community. Thank you to our subscribers. Again, thank you to Syrinscape for allowing us to use those soundboards and background music. If you like the content here and you're not, and go ahead and click on the follow if you want to support us, because it does take resources to do this, and we do want to grow and expand. So subscribe if you feel comfortable. Go ahead and subscribe. If you're have access to Twitch Prime, you can use your Twitch Prime subscription to help us out. If anything, also when this comes out on YouTube and our other mediums, like it, give us a review, share it out with your friends. That kind of support is what's going to help us grow more. And we will see you guys on our next adventure.
Peace.